Hi there, happy St. Patrick's Day. We are going to do our second video in a little bit, and just wanted to tell you that we're going to be doing something inspired by Ireland. We're going to be doing a Celtic design, mandala, which is a design that has symmetry all around, also known as rotational symmetry or radial design. So we'll be looking at what that is, and I'm going to teach you a really simple technique to make a mandala that's very complex looking. So it's really impressive when you're done. So you guys ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Donna's not.
All right, so we are ready to get started. Malcolm, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello.
Mary?
Hi.
And Jonah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something called a mandala. And here's an example of a mandala. And I picked one that has some green in it since it's St. Patrick's Day. And we're talking about Celtic design. And what that means is when we're talking about Celtic design, we're talking about an area of the world. We're talking about Ireland and some of the designs that come from that culture. And mandalas come from different cultures. Also, you'll see them in India and in Buddhism. But in both cultures, they're meant to be a symbol of meditation and peace. A mandala, the definition of a mandala is a geometric figure representing the universe, if we're talking about Buddhism and Hinduism. It can be a symbol from a dream, but it also talks about unity. And then if we're looking at the Celtic tradition, which is when we're talking about Ireland, it's a symbol of spiritual growth, and can be a symbol of divine ancestry, and just to kind of raise your consciousness, focus on your energy. And a lot of people like to use them in meditation too, which is kind of a type of prayer or a type of relaxation. So this is a really nice one, and it's an example of rotational symmetry or radial balance, which is different from our last lesson where we did symmetry or symmetrical balance, where it was the same on the right and the left. This one is the same all the way around. And so no matter what way I turn it, it's balanced every way I look, kind of like a wheel. And I picked a couple other ones to show you guys too. So here's some other pretty ones. And a lot of the Celtic ones almost look like there's something called a Celtic knot, where they look like they're intertwined or they're knotted together. Those ones are really complex. I found this really cool one, which is on a pop socket. So you see a lot of them in popular design too, even though it's an older tradition, an older style. You see it a lot today in popular things. This is one on a blanket. That's really pretty. And then it's also very popular in tattoos. This is an arm tattoo, which I thought was really interesting looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera so you can watch the one that I'm doing up close. All right, guys, we are ready to get started. So like I said, you're going to want to have a piece of computer paper or notebook paper, scrap paper, and then you're going to also want another piece of paper or a piece. This is just cardstock. It's a little thicker, or you can have a piece of cardboard, anything scrap. You need it to be a little less than half the size of the short side of your paper. So my paper here is 8.5 inches. It's just a computer paper. So I cut this about a little smaller than 4 inches. So it's going to fit onto here. Okay. And as far as how wide it is, you know, it's a couple inches wide, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that can't be right. Yeah, it's about 4 fingers, about 2 inches. And so what we're going to do on this piece of paper, we're going to draw just a really random pattern, just a really random shape. And it can be squiggly or it can be geometric. That's up to you. Just something really, really random. So that's my shape there. And don't really fuss about this, but you want to make it as big as your piece of paper. So you really want it. You don't want anything real fussy or detailed. So like I'm going to stop Malcolm for a second. He's doing a really, really cool design here. Look at that. But he's not going to be able to do that for what we're doing. So I'm going to have him flip it over and just keep it really simple and big. Yeah, so here, let me show you. Here's Mary's. That'll work.
How about this one?
And Jonah's is a little too detailed. I'm going to have him simplify the edges up just a little bit. As cool as that looks, we want to keep it a little simpler because that might be a little too involved for doing a first time one. All right, and then once we've got that ready, we're going to cut it out. And yes, here, let me show you Bubba's. Bubba's got his out now. Malcolm we also call Bubba. And so that'll work. So anything that you've come up with, like I said, just don't make it too fussy. I'm even going to simplify mine a little bit more here. And we're going to cut it all the way to the edges. And if you don't cut it perfect with your lines, that's okay. That'll work, Jonah, yeah.
Okay,
Grab a pair of scissors and
give me a
start
second.
cutting.
I need to go. I need to get a bandage. Cut myself. I don't know how, but I did.
Paper cut? You have an injury already. All right, so like I said, I didn't cut it out perfect. That's okay. This is going to be my shape. This is just, we've made a stencil. So this is going to be my stencil now.
Like this. Does it have to be perfect?
Doesn't have to be perfect, no.
This is this.
And you can see it's going to fit all the way around my paper here. Because we're going to turn it like a clock. And that's where the paper clip comes in handy.
Oh, so you paper clip it and then you...
So, nope, you're not going to paper clip it. What you're going to do is you're going to take one end of your paper clip and you're going to pull it open so it's sticking up. Oh, this is a tough one.
Mine's
This is a strong paper clip.
tough.
Usually they bend really easy. You got yours good, yeah. So you want it so it's like, if you've ever done this for maybe like a math class or something, where you make a spinner, like a game spinner. So my paper clip is sticking up like that. So it's got a little bit of, it's like a spinner. You can see that? Okay.
I'm actually really bad at making spinners. So that?
Yep.
A couple times.
And so then I'm going to take and I'm going to put that inside the middle of my paper. And if you're not sure where the middle of your paper is, you don't have to fold it, but if you just kind of give it a little bit of a press, right like that, and a little bit of a press like that. Now I know where the center of my paper is. I didn't have to crease it all the way. I just needed a little part where I knew where the center was. And then I'm going to poke this through, and you can take a little piece of tape on the back if you want. You don't have to, but if you want, you can tape it down on the back just so it's not moving on you. And so now I've got this little prong sticking out the middle of my paper, if you can see that right there. Okay. Yep, perfect, Bubba. Yep, so we're going to, I'll do it again with his so you can see. I'm just going to just kind of pinch it a little bit right there. Bubba.
Why do you have to make this squiggly paper?
And I'm going to pinch it right here. Well, this is our stencil, so you're going to see from this one shape, we're going to make lots and lots of shapes.
Can you help me with this?
Yep, so you want to poke it through.
How do you like poke it?
So I'll do his so you can see a second time. And you can always stop and rewind up or pause a part if you need to.
Whoa, that's so cool.
And then we're going to tape it on the back.
How do you
And again, you don't have to tape it on the back, but it does help to just keep, I found when I did these in my classroom before, it helps so that they're not moving, they're not popping out. All right, and then we're going to take, so Bubba's got his ready. Go ahead and sit down, honey. And Mary's got hers. Jonah's still working, getting his ready.
It's so weird.
We're going to take this piece and kind of like the hands on a clock, you just want to make sure that you've got enough distance that it's not like going all the way to the edge of paper, but I'm just going to poke. I'm going to poke my piece in just like that. So now it's like the hands on a clock and it spins around.
Can you help me?
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get it. Okay, yeah. How do I do my
So we're going to poke Bubba's
Where's your paper?
just like that. Okay? All right. And I found out that if you trace it with pencil, I'm a fan of tracing things with pencil first, but I found that if you trace it with pencil first and then try to go back to trace it later, it's really, really difficult because we're going to have so many lines and shapes on here once we're done. So I suggest if you're brave, you can use a marker. You could use colored pencil because colored pencil actually does a lot of times erase, but even if it doesn't, I think you'll be okay not doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to we're going to start to outline this over and over and over again, but we need to know exactly where to outline it, okay? So I messed up. I forgot to have you crease the paper first. Okay, so we're ready to start tracing, and all you're going to do is start with yours at the bottom and take your pencil. use a colored pencil. Like I said, if you want to use a marker, you can, but you're probably not going to want this in pencil later, and it's really hard to go back over and trace all this when you're done because it's going to be really complicated. I know I said start with a simple shape, and that's why, because it's going to get real complex once we start overlapping all these tracings. So I've just traced it one time, and I traced it pretty heavy, and now I'm just going to rotate this like the hands on the clock. So if this was at the bottom, kind of like 6 o'clock, I'm going to rotate it to 7. And each time you rotate it, you want to leave the same distance in between. So if you wanted to have, you know, put your fingers down, you could just put 2 fingers here like this. And then this is how far away it's going to be each time. And so you just hold it down real good. And when you trace this second one, it's going to overlap the first. And the cool thing is you're going to get new shapes where they overlapped. And that's where your design starts to get complex. And it looks like, man, that must have been really hard to make, but we know the trick. That was pretty simple. And so again, if I did 2 fingers apart here, I want to space my next one out about 2 fingers here. And then I'm going to outline that. And Bubba's younger, so this is a lesson that I usually do with about 7th grade, but I think it's doable with younger kids as well, and I think older kids and grown-ups will enjoy it too. Oh, you're doing fine. You're doing it, buddy. So Bubba's my 1st grader, so I'm going to probably pause and help him out a little bit here and there, but he's doing really good already. That looks really good. Looks like a flower. All right, and so then I'm going to, that's my 3rd one, and I'm just going to keep going.
It's my 3rd one right now.
I'm going to do 2 fingers. You're on the, so you're doing just, you're at the same speed I am, bud.
Yeah, but you're on your 4th one, right?
I'm on my 4th one now.
I asked if you were on your 4th one, and you said no.
Oh, I thought you said first. You're missing that tooth in front, so sometimes I can't tell your STs and your THs. And so you can see now we're getting all these really cool designs. And when you lift this up, you'll see in the middle you're getting to get a really cool pattern too. And the important thing is that you're just trying to space them out each time. So I'm going to put 2 fingers here.
That's good.
Yeah.
That good.
Oh, I think so. And sometimes it's hard to tell what it's going to look like until you get going. So I've had a lot of kids before say, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know. And I just tell them, keep going, just keep tracing. And then the end, when you lift it up, it's like, oh, wow, look at that.
This looks like a lot like stop motion, or like frame by frame animation.
You're right, it does. That
That's
repetitive motion.
That's a sneak peek for my next video. I mean, it's not going to be animation, but it's going to be stop motion animation.
Ooh, cool.
Search up JMT Plays.
That's right. So Jonah is my tech guy. He does all my editing, and he has his own YouTube channel called JMT Plays, and he does
Gaming videos.
And he's also done some animation, which it takes a long time, and it's really, really cool.
I spent my life in all that work.
He's also my comedian.
I was in physiological pain.
Yeah, so thanks for telling us something that isn't true.
So we're just going to keep going around this, and we'll probably speed this up at some point. But I hope that you guys will give this a try. And if you've got little brothers or sisters at home, you can have them join in. And mom and dad, grandma, whoever's home, you can sit down and do this too. It's very relaxing. This repetitive kind of design.
It's not relaxing for me.
It's not relaxing for you? Not yet? Maybe when you start coloring it in, it makes you tired. They have, well, maybe that's because you're so relaxed.
Yeah.
They have a lot of coloring pages are mandalas because it is kind of a relaxing design to color in. It's that circular pattern.
I keep cutting myself on the sharp edge. Hold up. Give me some tape. I'm gonna make this a safety.
You're poking yourself on the paper clip?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how?
All right, so I'm going to keep going on this. And then we'll probably speed this up and then let you guys, we'll come back and show you how to color them in. Okay, so I'm going to take my stencil off because I'm at the end now. And this is what it looks like when you're done. So it's a surprise. I like this a lot because you don't know exactly what it's going to look like when you're done. And you can see where all these overlap now. We got all these new shapes. And then the middle, it gets really, really intricate because, you know, that little piece got copied so many times. And that's why I always say start with a really simple shape, because if you do something too complex, you just kind of get lost and you don't know what you're tracing. And you want to be able to have some spaces in between all your lines so that you can color those in, because once you color these in, they really are going to pop and really look cool. So we're going to start to color ours in, and then we'll be back.
Mine, I don't think mine. Yours is so cool.
So I'm gonna let this play. Guys, I'm gonna let this play, but I'm gonna have Jonah fast forward this part, okay? So you guys can keep. Want me to show real quick what yours looks like?
Mine doesn't.
Okay, so let's see what Bubba's looks like. Here is Bubba's. I think that looks beautiful. I think it looks like a flower, Bubby. Oh, it does. Like maybe a poinsettia or a poppy. I love it. And wait till you color it in. You're going to like it even more. Mary, can I show yours? Before you start coloring in too much, I wanted them just to see the outline. So here's Mary's outline. Really, really pretty. And Jonah, is yours ready yet? Okay, so let's show Jonah's.
I'm trying to get this out. Oh, there it goes.
Cool. And then here's Jonah's. You can see they're all just a little different. All right, so we're going to do some fast forwarding of the coloring here. One thing I do want to tell you about coloring, and if you got a little hole in the center, don't worry about it. Just kind of cover it up, or don't worry about that. You're going to color it in anyways.
I can't even take it off because there's tape.
I'll help you. So one thing you want to do when you go to color these in is you do want to color them in a pattern. And so for example, this little shape here, that one little shape, each time I color that one, I'm going to color it the same. And it might be a little bit different size depending on how you overlapped them. But that part always is going to be that same color. Like mine got real small right there. Extra. So if I do like green, I like to.
This one is way off.
Ooh, that's okay. That looks really pretty though. I like to overlap like two different shades of green, or like a green on top of a yellow. I like to overlap and mix colors.
I know what to do. I'll make the inside a little bit more green than the outside.
And I like to color with my colored pencils pretty hard, not so that like it gets really shiny looking and my hand hurts, but I like them to be really vibrant and bright. And when I do this in school, I always have, whenever we use colored pencils in my classroom, I always make them do two colors on top of each other because it always looks better blended. It's like mixing paint, but with pencil. guys, we are done. I hope you enjoyed that very fast-forwarded edition of Coloring In. This is my final design, and you can see some of my shapes are not perfectly even, but I don't mind that. It looks kind of cool. You know, if you spin these things, you can even take your pin back on here. Oops.
If you want to.
And
I got very nice.
see if I can do it. Some of the kids in the class are doing it before. I kind of spin this around. I'm just kind of pushing it like this on my spinner. If you cut it in a circle, it'll work even better.
I can.
Yeah, you can slow down the video. You can fast forward it too. Using.
Cool, look.
Whoa.
Cool.
So fast.
Now, if you had old CDs that were damaged, you could do a mandala on it with a Sharpie and color it in Sharpies. That would look really cool, or you could do it with paint. So I hope you had fun with this activity. So here's mine, and kids, there's Mary's and Malcolm's and Jonah's. They look great, guys.
Mine looks like a big turtle.
All right, happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll see you guys next
Mine
time.
looks like a
Bye.
turtle.
Bye.
Mine looks like a turtle.
Okay, I just wanted to show you guys what we did with ours. We cut them out and hung them up in the window, and with the sunlight coming through them, they look really cute. They look like almost like stained glass. So just an idea for you guys to finish yours up. All right, see you next time.